Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. First, to Reverend Kamathir, thank you very much for that kind introduction, but even more importantly, thank you for all the great work you do, your leadership, your guidance, the help you bring to the community. Let's give him a big round of applause, Reverend Kamathir. We have many notables with us today, and you start to go down a list, you get into trouble, but I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Chancellor Nancy Zimfer of our SUNY system, Congressman Paul Tonko, Assemblyman Jack McEnany, Mayor Jerry Jennings. Let's give them a round of applause. Honorable Carl McCall, who's going to be your keynote speaker, who is the chairman of the SUNY system, who's a great, great New Yorker. Let's give him a round of applause. All the OGS personnel that worked to organize today, we want to thank them. To my colleagues in state government, it's a pleasure to be with you. And to my neighbors from Albany, it's a pleasure to be with you. I live right down the road here, a piece, 138 Eagle Street. I don't own the house. I'm on a 4-year lease. Actually, you all are the landlords. I want you to know I intend to try to renew the lease at the end of my term. And it's truly an honor for me to participate in this tribute today. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King taught us so many important lessons. I had a great honor of speaking at one of the really great Reverend Dr. King tributes that is one of the great memories for me in my life. I was working in the Clinton administration. Bill Clinton, you remember him, President of the United States. Great one at that. And I spent 8 years working with Bill Clinton. That's where I picked up this Southern accent, I think, when I was working with Bill Clinton. And I was the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. And I got a call one day from Coretta Scott King, God rest her soul. And she asked if I would come and be the keynote speaker on King Day at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, Dr. King's church. And I was just blown away by the invitation. And I was nervous. I worked for weeks studying, preparing, researching Dr. King. But I'll tell you, those weeks that I spent learning about Dr. King have served me a lifetime. His powerful lesson, his profound belief in the sense of justice that encompassed everything else and drove everything else. One word, that one concept, justice, but not the justice that we think about every day. It wasn't just about criminal justice. It was deeper. It was a more humanitarian form of justice. It was about racial justice and freedom from discrimination in housing and lending. It was about economic justice and income inequality and paying people what they're worth and barriers and obstacles and ceilings. It was about social justice and how we treat one another as a society, as a community, our relations one to the other. That's what Dr. King's justice was all about. And he made it clear that this was an ongoing struggle. Justice doesn't just happen. You don't just sit back and wait for it to come to you. Great quote about the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It doesn't bend towards justice. We bend it towards justice. That was Dr. King's point. But it requires effort and it requires struggle. And Dr. King made it clear that this struggle was hard. Fight the good fight. Yeah, but the word is fight. It's a struggle. It is hard, and it's not going to come easily. Dr. King, as usual, said it best when he said, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And then we all do what we can to fight that fight, to fight the good fight, to bring justice in any way we can, by our God-given talents, by our surroundings, by our experience, how we choose to lead our life. For me, government is a potential vehicle for change. Government can make a difference in society. It can be a positive one, can be a negative one, but government can make a change. Government can pass a law that changes society for everyone. Government can form a new program that spends hundreds of millions of dollars on a good effort. Government can correct an injustice. Government has a tremendous capacity to do good. Now, I got there because I grew up in a home and sat at a kitchen table with a man who believed with all his heart and soul in the capacity for government. And as a boy, I would hear my father talk about government, and I would hear him talk about public service, and that was one of the highest callings you could have. And his eyes would dance when he talked about the assets and the ability in public service. So that's the path that I followed. But we all follow a different path in trying to continue Dr. King's struggle. I believe as we gather here today, one of the greatest challenges for us, one of the greatest injustices to right, is the failing of our public education system, period. Started in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education. The nation stood up and said everyone everywhere should have a quality education system. And we're not there yet. Public education system was supposed to be the great equalizer. Public education system said, I don't care who you are, I don't care the color of your skin, I don't care how much money you have in the pocket, I don't care what zip code you come from. You can get a public education and you can be anything you want to be just with that public education. That's what it was supposed to be. That's what it was supposed to be. But the great equalizer that was supposed to be the public education system can now be the great discriminator. Because if you happen to go to public school in a failing public school, you may never catch up. You may just be left behind by society and never catch up. And government here is actually part of the problem, because we have lost focus on what it's all about. We have created an education bureaucracy, and now it's about the education bureaucracy perpetuating the education bureaucracy. It has become about the business of education more than achievement in education. We spend, as a state, more than any other state per student. We're number one in spending. We're number 38 in terms of graduation rates. That's because it's about the money and the business and the bureaucracy and not the achievement. Now, I learned my lesson last year. I went to school, first year of governor's school. And I learned how powerful the bureaucracy is. Because we went to start to make changes and shift the focus to the student. And the bureaucracy rose up. And I learned that everybody in Albany has a high-priced lobbyist and a great public relations firm. The school superintendents have lobbyists. The principals have lobbyists. The teachers have lobbyists. The bus drivers have lobbyists. The building personnel have lobbyists. You know the one group without a lobbyist in this town are the students. That's exactly right. We have to realize that our schools are not an employment program for the superintendents and the principals and the teachers. They are an education program for the students. It is this simple. It is not about the adults. It is about the children. The children come first. The children should come first. The students' rights and the students' ability comes first. And that's what we're going to make happen in the state of New York. Now, President Obama, he gets it. He has a program called Race to the Top. And what Race to the Top says is, I'm tired of talking about process. I want to fund performance. And I want to shift the focus to the students. And President Obama's program says, let's evaluate the principals and evaluate the teachers and evaluate the schools and find out which ones are doing well and which ones are doing poorly. Let's help the ones that are not doing well, and let's raise the ones that are achieving high. 2 years ago, the state of New York said, we will put an evaluation system in place. 2 years ago. And the Obama administration gave us $700 million because we were going to put an evaluation system in place and we were going to reform education. You know what happened 2 years later? Nothing. Nothing. No evaluation system in place because the bureaucracy doesn't want one. And the Obama administration says then they're going to take the $700 million back. And the $700 million is going to come from the poorest school districts in this state. And I'm not going to let that happen. We're going to put an evaluation system in place that represents the students' interests first. You're going to have the governor of the state of New York as the lobbyist for the students and the parents as the advocates, and together we're going to change education once and for all. And my friends, it's not just about elementary education. It's also about higher education. Because if you do not graduate with a college degree, you have a lifetime of lower earnings. You need that college degree more and more. And we have a great engine in this state called the state university system, SUNY system. It was a precious jewel. And what SUNY said was anyone can go to college, a public college in this state, and get a first-class education, and they can put that diploma up against any other diploma from any other school in this nation. SUNY is about quality and affordability, and I am so excited about the leadership team that we have at SUNY now. Chancellor Nancy Zimpher is here, and the new chairman of the board, Carl McCall. Let's give them a round of applause. And to me, my friends, the most powerful point from Dr. King was his belief that at the end of the day, he believed in humanity, and he believed in us, and he believed in brotherhood, and he believed in the spirit of community. He would say that we may have come in different ships, but we're all in the same boat now. And he understood that strength in unity. And he was all about bringing people together, not dividing people, not separating people, but finding the commonality, finding the good and speaking to their better angels, and forging unity, and in that strength, in that unity is strength. I believe that with every core of my being, that we are all connected. There is a cord that connects me to you, to you, to you, to you, to you. And you may not see it, but it's there. And that cord weaves a fabric. And that is the fabric of society. And when one of us is escalated, the fabric pulls us all up. And when one of us is diminished, it pulls us all down. So I want all of us to succeed together. That's what this state is all about. That's what New York has always been all about. E pluribus unum. The founding premise and the enduring promise of this nation and this state, what we can do when we are one, when we come together. Let's do it together. Thank you and God bless you.
Would you